One of the problems of having capital, and it's a nice problem, is deciding how much of it you can spend and is it enough to live on. My name is Glyn Lewis Jones, and I'll describe a simple technique that over the last 30 years or so I've used with most of my clients. First of all, you've got to look at the big picture, not just your investment money. Think of your money in 3 different categories: everyday money, reserve money, and investments. The everyday money is from earnings or pensions, not investment income. Let's assume it isn't quite enough to live on and you have an income deficit of, say, 20,000. This comes from your reserve money, which is on deposit in the bank. The amount you keep there should be a multiple of your income deficit, and I'll explain why in a minute. These figures vary for different clients, of course, but let's use a 3 times multiple. So there's a target balance in reserve in the bank of 60,000. So to cover your income deficit, what's left of your capital needs to produce 20,000 a year. And of course, this is where your investment capital comes in. It's your investment capital that has to produce enough growth or income to cover your 20,000 income deficit. And now stop and check your figures. Is there enough investment capital to realistically produce a return of 20,000 a year over the medium to longer term? If your investment capital can't realistically produce this amount, then the alarm bells should start ringing, because it means your spending expectations and your capital aren't in balance. Either you're spending too much or your capital is too little. And it's your spending that needs to be adjusted rather than looking for higher than average investment returns. Trying to squeeze unrealistic returns from your capital is a recipe for disaster, as so many people have found out. Okay, that was a brief summary of how you set things up. And when you're there, this is what you do. Once a year, look at your reserves and your investments. Your reserves are bound to be below the target balance of 60,000 because you've been spending money from these reserves during the year. So if there's enough growth or income in your investment money, then take enough of this to bring your reserves up to 60,000. But if your investments are down, then you should probably leave them alone. Rely on your reserves for another year, and another year after that if necessary. And that's why your target balance in reserve is calculated as a multiple of your income deficit, because it gives you a system of matching your investment returns against your spending. That's it. It's a simple system, but after a year or two you'll have a much better idea of how to balance your spending and your investment returns. If you'd like to find out more, then please phone